I wanted to ask about consciousness. Has much been taken into account in the science world about the state of consciousness in terms of fetuses? Has there been any research into that?
I know that there's been research. I can't cite to you exactly. I know that brain waves begin very early on. Now there's a recent study that shows that the heartbeat is detectable as early as 17 or 18 days from conception. That the heartbeat's detectable, and it's soon thereafter that there actually begin to be brain waves. In the United States, there's a pain-capable bill that's been proposed in Congress. Many states have passed it. And the pain-capable bill is usually like either a 20 or 22-week ban based upon the fact that unborn children feel pain. But studies show that they actually feel pain much earlier than 20 weeks, 22 weeks. So I don't even understand why they established it at 20 weeks at that point.
Any idea when the central nervous system begins to develop?
I'm just trying to understand the question. I mean, what do you want from this? What concerns me is not when any organ is developing or when there are brain waves or any other thing that is happening. It's just that you have a process. The human being is there from conception. The genetics is there. It's all there. It's the same being. It's just different stages of development. It's just like when you start taking photos of your children. You have a photo of your child at birth. Then you take another photo at 3 years. Then you take another photo of him when he graduates. So when you take the photo of the child and he's bigger than you and he graduated, he didn't have the same brain capacity of when he was a baby. He didn't, have the same concepts of what happens or doesn't happen. Does that make his life less valuable? It's all part of a process. Once you have the human being has the same value from conception to natural death. There is no stage in life which has more value than any other stage. Is that clear?
Very.
When it comes to the pain-capable bill, I can tell you that I really oppose the premise of it because I actually think that this is a very dangerous path to go on to suggest that our human rights have anything to do with whether or not we feel pain. There's actually several genetic disorders where children are born without the capacity to feel pain. And yet that doesn't mean that they're any less of a human being or have less of a right to life. And then when it comes to end-of-life issues, if we suggest that, you can kill someone as long as they don't feel pain, that's an extremely dangerous precedent, especially considering the fact that the lethal injection for, let's say, the death penalty, for example, is actually an overdose of pain medicine. So, and often people are euthanized with really, what is an overdose of pain medicine. So I think that it's very shocking to see what's happening in the United States to suggest that this has to do with pain. And I've warned people that this could result in a precedent from the United States Supreme Court that it's okay as long as you provide anesthesia to numb the pain for the unborn child. And I wrote about this, warned about it, and then sure enough, Montana introduced a pain-capable Unborn Child Protection Act that was not an abortion ban, it's an anesthesia bill. And it's not even requiring anesthesia, it's just an informed consent bill. And the idea would be that you're supposed to have to tell mothers to warn them that your child feels pain and that they have the opportunity to have anesthesia for their unborn child. And there were some pro-life leaders that were actually supporting this. Their position was that this would reduce the number of abortions because it would educate people on the fact they feel pain. But I feel like it educates people and then it settles the matter. And to me, that's chilling. to think that you can kill anyone, that we're going to turn into a society where it's okay to kill people as long as they're sleeping, as long as they're in a coma, as long as they feel pain. That's horrible. When it comes to like the heartbeat, there's also a heartbeat bill in the United States. And I just want to say that, some people say, oh, well, that's when life ends. But, life doesn't end with heartbeat. And then it became brain waves in the United States, because obviously you can resuscitate people and perform CPR, and you can get their heart started again. So the law used to be that life ends when there's no heartbeat. That's not true anymore. Then it was life ends when there's no longer brain waves. That is not true anymore. For decades now, they've been able to do brain surgery where they drain they drain blood out of a patient. They reduce their temperature, so they're in a very cold condition, almost like you think of frozen embryos, right? They're still alive though, and they drain the blood out of them so that they can better operate on the brain, and there's no brain waves. But then somehow there's this procedure where they resuscitate them and they bring them back to life. And so I find that incredibly fascinating, that our idea of when life ends is no longer even accurate. So to suggest that brain waves should be the end of life and the beginning of life, I think is inaccurate as well, and that demonstrates that. Thank you.
I've been hearing many arguments, especially with regards to the mother who has been raped. Maybe can you tell us of the experience of your own mother, like when you met her, like her life, if it changed, the fact that she kept you?
My birth mother had wanted to abort me. She chose abortion. She went to 2 illegal abortions. I was almost aborted, but she backed out because it was illegal and for fear for her own safety. So she did not choose life for me. She chose abortion. And pro-life legislators chose life for me. They protected me. I literally owe my birth to the law being there to protect me. When I met my birth mother, when I was 19, she was very happy to meet me. But when I asked her about abortion, she told me this difficult truth that she would have. And in fact, she was still calling herself pro-choice when we met, and told me it should have been my right. And she maintained that position for the next 6 years. Now, decades later, she is so thankful that she could not legally abort me. And she has repeatedly told me that. She's really proud of me. She comes to hear me speak. She's met a lot of my other friends who are mothers from rape and who were conceived in rape, and she just loves being around them. And she talks about how there was nothing like this back then, and I was so alone. And she's come to pregnancy center fundraisers with me, and she said there were none of these back then, but if there had been, I would have gone. I wish I had this kind of help when I was pregnant. And so today it's very different. And when you're protected by the law like we were, like children of Malta and the mothers of Malta are today, you can always change your opinion and be able to enjoy a relationship. When abortion becomes legal, changing your mind is extremely painful, because there is no going back. There is no having a second chance.
Thank you all for attending. I would like to close with this. Thank you.